But without further ado, why don't we just move on and bring on good old Jason McClellan, our news correspondent, so we can talk more about the Congress and do some reminiscing and tell you how you can go see some of the highlights and some of the cool stuff that went on. Hello, Jason.
Hi there, Alejandro.
Hi.
This is your Open Minds News Brief, everyone, for Monday, March 5th, 2012. And it's so good to be back after 2 weeks away doing the Congress. Glad to be back. And yeah, let's get right into it and talk about the 21st Annual International UFO Congress that just took place. We wrapped that up. It was a fantastic event. And I, like you, was blown away by the first day. Like, after the first day, after Wednesday, I thought, wow, it's already hit the highlight. This was the peak. Wednesday was just an amazing day.
The rest was just mediocre at best. Just kidding. It was all great, but that was a great day.
Wednesday was a great way to start it. It was really, really good. And, one of the highlights of the event, for people who haven't been to the conference, on Saturday, we have a large banquet, sort of a big festival. It's a wrap-up to our film festival, the EBE Film Festival, and we give awards. It's like our Academy Awards, our Emmys. But we also introduced something last year, additional researcher awards, and I think that's one of my favorite parts of the conference is these researcher awards we give out. And so we have a Researcher of the Year award, and this year our Researcher of the Year was Lee Spiegel from the Huffington Post, who's been on the show a couple times. Well deserved, a good buddy of ours, and very, very excited to see Lee get that. It's well deserved. And it was fun to get to spend a lot of time with Lee at the event. And then the Lifetime Achievement Award was given to Colin Andrews for his decades of work in the field.
And I always forget, he's the guy who coined the word crop circle.
Coined the term crop circle, yeah.
My goodness.
Pretty big.
And he says, I'm pretty sure he said he's talked to the Queen. He has said he's talked to the Queen about crop circles, Her Majesty herself. Wow.
Pretty big stuff.
He deserved it, and so did Lee, because I don't think a lot of people get shocked when they hear just how influential and how much Lee had to do with the UN presentations that happened in the 70s, which was really important. I mean, it's the only time that this stuff has gotten in front of the United Nations and all of the delegates, and an important moment in time that people can read about in our magazine. So it was well-deserved also, Lee, who we've had on the show a couple times now. So I think if you have listened to those shows, or if you go back and listen to them, you'll understand why he so deserved the award for the year.
And recently he published a piece on the Huffington Post, sort of his recap of the Congress. So that's an interesting read. And speaking of Lee Spiegel from the Huffington Post, one of my personal favorite presentations at the conference was the media panel we had.
Yeah, that was maybe my favorite highlight. Getting to talk with those guys and have that fun panel.
That included, they've all been guests on this show. Bryce Zabel, Ben Hansen, and Lee Spiegel. Yeah,
that was great. And getting back to the first day, I did want to mention one of the reasons why it was so great. I mean, we had Chuck Zukowski, his cattle mutilation stuff, which I've seen, but others may have not. And if you are into cattle mutilations, you're definitely going to want to watch that DVD. We had Clifford Cliff, who gets better and better all the time. He's witty and he's fun, but he went over some great cases because he's been combing the MUFON files, so these incredible cases from MUFON.
Right. He recently stepped down as the international director, but he is sort of heading up the MUFON archives, and he presented some stuff that hasn't been presented before.
So that first day was also Lee, and did we wrap it up with Yvonne? Was that the first day?
It's all a blur.
It becomes a blur. Now. But I remember, that first day, that first start, it was like, wow, these are great presentations. So we were off to a great start.
Yeah. And again, the media panel was great. And I enjoyed that personally. And I think a lot of attendees did too. That's something new we did this year was the panels.
Yeah.
And people liked that, and it gave them a longer opportunity, a better opportunity to come up and ask questions because a large time period with the panels was devoted to questions from the audience.
Yeah, like an hour in each panel, I think, was devoted to Q&A from the audience. And unfortunately, at every single one, we had to turn people away because there are so many people with so many questions.
That's right.
Luckily, they could go to the vendor room or out into the hallway to ask questions of the panelists. But people always have some great questions and come up with stuff you wouldn't have thought of. So that was a lot of fun. And yeah, like you said, I think people loved it.
Yeah, I agree. And for those of you who either attended this year or didn't and plan to next year, or if you plan to return next year, stay tuned to the show. Listen in carefully, because we will announce, and I have it on good authority, that registration will probably open earlier this year than it did or next year than it did this year. And if this year is any indicator, as was last year, the hotel sells out pretty quickly, and you want to be in that main hotel.
You know, I had several people come up and say, I listened to the radio show, and I'm glad that I listened to you and got my tickets early, because the hotel sold out like within a month.
I heard that too, you know, and I think a lot of the people were our listeners to this show, who, because we gave lots and lots of those warnings to people, get your hotel now. And a lot of the listeners did, and I think they appreciated that.
And it's a beautiful hotel. It's a
great
deal.
hotel, and that's where all the action is. And it sells out fast, as does every other hotel in the area. So it's a pretty big-time event. So, yeah, we'll definitely let you know as soon as the hotel opens up, as soon as registration opens up, so you can jump on that as soon as possible. But I had fun like I did last year. There's never enough time to, and really, to me, the greatest benefit to conferences is not discovering some breaking information or something that's never been heard before. I mean, there's some of that, and that's great. But the main benefit to these events is the social aspect.
Yeah.
To being able to interact with the researchers and to socialize with a lot of the people there. It's a great social event.
To me, though, the one piece of new information that was really new and great was the General Bermudez, who brought some video
100%.
that they have analyzed, and it was some incredible video.
Yep, this is the General Ricardo Bermudez from Chile, who heads up their official UFO investigation unit in their government. Very exciting stuff. He presented video and audio evidence from their cases.
And then did you guys put up a video today, I think?
We put up a video today, and Antonio Huneeus wrote an article about the cases that the General presented, and we will be putting up a more in-depth video with more of the clips from the General's presentation. And all the presentations from the Congress can be purchased from our website. We do sell all of those. But we will be putting up more on YouTube from the General's presentation in a more video news piece from Antonio.
One thing I wanted to ask you about, just the other day I put up on UFO Daily News some videos of some of the news coverage of the Congress, especially some of the interviews I got to do. Just I was aware of those more. And so the coverage, though, was really good. I think you probably were able to look at more of the Congress coverage than I was able to look at. But overall, it was very positive, it seemed.
You know, just like all the other UFO news, not all, but much of the UFO news coverage we're seeing lately, it's becoming covered more and more journalistically. Not covered as a joke. There's less of the rolling the eyes and throwing in a joke here and there. There's certainly some of that still, but the strong majority of the media coverage of the event this year was basically just straight up, here's the event and here's what it is.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you want to come out and see it, here's when you can do it and how much it costs. I mean, it was very straightforward news reporting without the little jokes here and there. I thought it was even better than last year, but you know, I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, when I went to the studio for CBS in the morning, after we were done shooting, you know, the other anchors were asking me questions. They were asking, like, when do you think the government's finally going to tell us, is what they're asking. And, you know, I gave them whatever replies I had. And they're like, you know, do you think they will ever tell us? So these questions they were asking were kind of assuming that the government did know more. You know, they weren't making fun of it or anything. So it was really cool.
That's exciting. And the media people we talked to who came out to the event were excited to be there. And they asked their own questions. And, yeah, they were very excited.
Right.
So I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, it was very cool. Lots of great
media.
coverage.
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks, media. You rock.
Well, overall,
although we did talk about in that panel that you referred to why the media doesn't usually often get it right, and why they do ridicule a lot. And there were some very interesting answers. And I think what was great is that we had coverage from a television show. We had someone from online media, kind of print-ish, but online media, national, and then we had someone from Hollywood. So we had a well-rounded group to talk about, why the way things happen, and if there is, Big Brother back there suppressing stuff from what they've seen and what they've been able to do. So it was great to get more insight into really the inner workings and the behind the scenes of the media and UFOs.
I agree, and of all the DVDs we have of these presentations that were given, that's the one that I'm going to go back and watch first, is the media panel.
Yeah.
Because I found that one the most fascinating. And the panelists did such a great job.
Yep. And of course, I wanted to mention, and just to say thanks to some of the guys who help us, who are just so awesome out there. Of course, there's Angela Rayo and Heather Fetter from the company who help us out. And there's Maureen. But some of the guys that help us backstage with, like Danny and Sean and Chris and Carlo and Jordan, who we're having on the show later.
Yeah, Jordan will be on the show
today. These guys
today.
are awesome.
Yeah, they are really the magic workers who make the whole thing happen. And we do this conference with very minimal staff, and these guys just go all day, and they do it. They're volunteers. This is something they do because they love it. And they do a terrific job, and we're, like I said, with the DVDs, we're actually able to produce these DVDs on the spot, turn them around in 2 to 3 hours, and have them available for people at the conference.
And I mentioned Colin and John, and there's someone else I'm missing, and then there's our 2 special guest camera people, of course.
Yes, we must thank Dale and Pam for coming out from California to work cameras for us, and yeah, we had a couple people from Oregon, and someone from, where's Carlo from? Carlo's from
California somewhere, I think.
No, he's not. No? Carlo's Minnesota, not Minnesota.
Really?
Midwest, yeah.
Oh, I didn't
he went back to
that.
the cold weather, poor guy.
I thought he was out of L.A. or something.
No.
Oh, wow.
Nope. But we have a great team, and, they work day in and day out and make the thing happen, and it wouldn't work without them, so we really appreciate all their help.
Yep, those guys are awesome.
Yep. Well, another Congress down in the books, and we'll do it again. But let's talk some other news, Alejandro.
Let's
we could talk
do it.
about the Congress all day long. Well, scientists have evidence suggesting the presence of water below the surface of several planets and moons, and the presence of water is the primary component scientists look for when searching for extraterrestrial life. Saturn's moon Enceladus is one of these alien worlds where water has been detected, and it's also the target of researchers who want to search for signs of extraterrestrial life in its water. Scientists led by the German Aerospace Center are developing a probe to melt and drill beneath the icy crust of Enceladus to search for alien life in the water that is thought to be below the moon's surface. Researchers have named the probe Ice Mole, and as Space.com explains, quote, after Ice Mole reaches its target, a cryovolcanic crevice filled with water, it is hoped, its aim is to sample the liquid, examining it for evidence of microbes. This exploration project, called Enceladus Explorer, or NX, launched on February 22nd, but testing of the ice mole is already underway here on Earth. It has successfully been used to drill into glaciers in Switzerland, and researchers plan to conduct additional testing during the next couple years in Alaska and Antarctica. According to Oliver Funk, project manager for the Enceladus Explorer at the German Aerospace Center, quote, NX deals with one of the most exciting tasks of space exploration, the search for extraterrestrial life. Funk also stated that if NX goes well, an ice mole mission to explore the polar ice caps on Mars will be proposed.
I just got done with the story for the magazine on this stuff, but the news is coming out like crazy. I mean, it's already been coming out like crazy. We've been talking about it every show.
I follow this every day, and I can't keep up with it.
Yeah, there's this one. There's this other planet that has water, but the pressure's too high, and it's weird water in weird forms. But it just proves there are water planets out there. So the person who discovered it says, there's probably going to be more planets like that out there that are in areas where the water is in the typical liquid form. Then there was one, that one we talked about on the last show, where it was like 20 light years away, which is relatively close, that has water and is in the Goldilocks zone. And
well, and one of Saturn's moons today was found to have an oxygen atmosphere.
Right. The news just keeps popping.
Yeah. Well, we do our best.
Yeah.
In other news, UFO sightings routinely flood newsrooms and police stations with phone calls. And while some police stations find UFO reports to be an unwanted nuisance, a law enforcement agency in Arizona welcomes reports of UFOs and other paranormal phenomena. KPHO, the CBS affiliate in Phoenix, reported last week that officials on the Navajo reservation investigate these strange cases and have been doing so for 10 years. This agency, known as the Navajo Nation Rangers, is a federal law enforcement resource. According to Lieutenant John Dover, and the management of national parks, fish and wildlife services, and archaeological sites are a few of the agency's responsibilities. Dover's investigations have revealed a, quote, wealth of information, and KPHO reports that the Rangers recently shared with them photos and documents from dozens of paranormal investigations. Dover told KPHO, quote, maybe we don't believe it, maybe we don't hold every belief that you do, but we're going to investigate it rather meticulously and professionally. We'll report it and let the chips fall where they will. In this willingness to take reports of paranormal activity and the promise to be thorough and discreet during the investigation process, that makes witnesses feel comfortable dealing with these officers. And Dover will reportedly be a special guest at the Harkin Shea 14 Theater in Scottsdale, Arizona on March 11th for the screening of the documentary, The Phoenix Lights. That event marks the 15th anniversary of the famous mass UFO sighting that took place in Arizona in 1997. And we met Dover last year at the UFO Congress. I don't know if he was there this year.
Yeah, last year, I think so. I think I saw him. But we let them audit some of the speakers to do training because they were just getting started in this stuff. And they said that they would like to come to the conference and watch some speakers, but they weren't sure if they could afford it, and so we let them watch some speakers. So, yeah, and that's one thing that I asked them to be on the show, and I kind of dropped the ball, honestly, because they said they were a little shy about it, but I didn't pursue it. But I really need to because I will be there at the screening of the Phoenix Lights this weekend on the 11th. It's at 1 p.m. at the Shea Harkins Theater. So if you live in the Phoenix area, come check it out where Dr. Lynn Katai will show her documentary on the Phoenix Lights. She does this every year, but this is the 15th year anniversary. In fact, we'll probably have her on the show next week. I think we'll be able to work that out. So, yeah, and we'll meet those guys, so I'll talk to them again. But really nice guys, and I just didn't know the depth. This article is incredible, the depth of research and investigation they've done. I mean, everything, and they're really getting out there and taking this seriously. It's very cool.
These are full-blown investigations. They're
right.
very meticulous, and they're taking it seriously.
Yeah, really cool.
So it's exciting to see, and you're right. I mean, they seem to be more out in the open with it now, so I think they'll be more willing to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in December 2011, astrobiologist Paul Davies and research technician Robert Wagner published a scientific paper calling for the public's help to search for traces of extraterrestrial life on the moon. Now, the SETI Institute, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, is calling on the public for help as well. The SETI Institute announced the launch of SETI Live at the TED conference in Los Angeles. Now, this is pretty big. The TED, which stands for Technology, Entertainment, and Design, is a conference that's gotten quite large in the past few years. And so they were there, and according to space.com, this new website, SETI Live, anyone can go to the website and register, and they can assist in the search for extraterrestrial radio signals by analyzing data received by SETI's Allen Telescope Array in California. Dr. Jillian Tarter, director of the SETI Institute's Center for SETI Research and winner of the TED Prize in 2009, explained, quote, I'm hoping that an army of volunteers can help us deal with these crowded frequency bands that confuse our machines. By doing this in real time, we will have an opportunity to follow up immediately on what our volunteers discover. The BBC points out that crowdsourcing data, quote, has proved to be a useful tool for scientists in a range of disciplines. So it makes sense to utilize crowdsourcing in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence as well. And if you'd like to join in on the search, you can go to their website and register at SETILive.org. It's kind of interesting that they're counting on humans to pick up on things that machines can't. I always think of computers being able to pick up on so much more than we can, but...
Yeah, it's more of a marketing thing. I'm not sure, but...
It could be, and you know what? I mean, the media loves SETI.
Yeah.
As we've seen the past couple years. Anytime there's anything from SETI, every media organization picks up on it. You know, they had their budget problems this year, and now with this, so we'll see. But it's interesting to get the public involved. Hopefully, they're competent people doing it.
Yeah.
And I assume there's some sort of instructions on what you're supposed to do. But
Yeah. Have to check it out.
but people like it. I mean, it sounds exciting to me. So I want to search for ET. But
We do.
yeah,
I do. I don't know what the hell you're doing.
I'm lazy. Well, astronomers are talking about a new approach for detecting biosignatures beyond our solar system. When a sun's light reflects off a planet and onto one of that planet's moons, scientists are able to determine details about that planet's surface. As Universe Today explained, researchers from the European Southern Observatory, quote, use Earth as a benchmark for the future study or the future search for life on planets beyond our solar system. The astronomers say they can analyze the faint planet shine or the light to look for indicators such as certain combinations of gases in the atmosphere, as they found looking at Earth shine to find telltale signs of organic life. And the team's research was recently published in the journal Nature. But this is kind of interesting. So they looked at our moon to test this out, and using the light that is reflected from the Earth onto the moon, they could tell that we have a cloudy atmosphere, and they could tell other things too. It's not going to be very detailed, and I think there's going to be a lot of guessing and filling in blanks, but it's another method that they're using on these places that they can't really get direct looks at the planet.
Interesting.
They can look at the reflections.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, Alejandro, I've got one more story I want to get in here, and it's about another fireball UFO.
Fireball UFO?
So many fireball UFOs.
Yep.
So thousands of witnesses saw a strange, slow-moving bright light in the night sky above northern Britain on Saturday, March 3rd. The Telegraph reported that a spokesman from the Strathclyde Police said they had been inundated with calls about a bright object in the sky west of Scotland. Also, a spokeswoman from the Durham Police said they received several calls from concerned people who had seen a, quote, bright light or a fire in the sky. And some witnesses even reported their belief that this fire in the sky incident involved an aircraft. But air traffic control confirmed that no aircraft incidents were reported and that nothing registered on radar. Experts believe the mysterious fireball was a meteor entering the atmosphere, and there was even a woman today who came forward claiming to have recovered the meteor that came down.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool. Those are worth a lot of money.
Yeah, she was pretty excited.
Yeah.
So we looked on the internet. It looks like what it's supposed to be, but who knows? I mean, and again, they said, oh, this is like the brightest one we've seen in 30 years or something. But again, we're having all these fireballs, gigantic fireballs, huge
They
meteors.
continue.
That's what they say they are, meteors. But these things are supposed to be rare, and they're happening like almost weekly now.
Yeah, I remember when it was so exciting when they had happened and it was really rare. Then I saw the one out in the desert, and they're happening all over the place. Everybody's seeing them.
Well, I do want to say this. This one, there's video of it, and it doesn't look like the one you saw.
Yeah.
Or like some of these others
saw
that
that.
like
It
break
looks a
up
little
and
different.
it's green in the different colors. This was just a fireball.
Yeah. Very whitish light
Yeah.
and big, and not breaking up, just this ball of
Yep. Very interesting.
cool stuff.
Yeah. The fireballs are fascinating.
Yep.
Well, Alejandro, that is it for the news. Remember, guys, you can check out all these stories and so many more at openminds.tv, your source for UFO-related news. I'm Jason McClellan, your Open Minds news correspondent, and you've been briefed.